Today we're going to be talking about legislative mandates that you'll see in a regular FPDS form. We're focusing on 3 because they're the ones that we currently have checks for. We do not have a check associated with the Clinger-Cohen Act, but that is something that we are always open to looking into more. So Fed data check, as I said, we have 3 data checks associated with legislative mandates. The first is Check 96, which deals with the Service Contract Act. This applies to every contract entered into by the United States or the District of Columbia, the principal purpose of which is to furnish services in the United States through the use of service employees. That description is pretty broad, but it becomes smaller as we learn about these other mandates. So let's move on. Check 97 is the Walsh-Healy Public Contracts Act. The Walsh-Healy Act, PCA, applies to contractors with contracts in excess of $10,000 for the manufacturing or furnishing of materials, supplies, articles, or equipment to the U.S. government or the District of Columbia. The PCA covers employees who produce, assemble, handle, or ship goods under these contracts. Check 98, the Davis-Bacon Act. The Davis-Bacon Act applies to contractors and subcontractors performing on federally funded or assisted contracts in excess of $2,000 for the construction, alteration, or repair, including painting and decorating, of public buildings or public works. So the question would be, how can Fed Data Check assist you in accurately designating awards to fall under these specific mandates? So right now we're going to take a look at the Interior website, and this is going to work for every department, but we're going to use Interior for today. I'm going over to Data Quality and dropping down to the Data Checks dashboard. And here we're going to see a breakdown of all our categories of checks. I'm going to go down to Legislative Mandates, open that up. We're going to see here it's Check 96, 97, and 98. I think first we should take a look at the Service Contract Act. The Service Contract Act is kind of broad, but that's really just in its definition. When we get down to things that are excluded and things that do not apply to the service contract, it becomes a little more clear where certain awards would fall under it. So here is where I clicked to open up the service contract page. And we have a description right here of things that the Service Contract Act does not apply to. We're going to use those as our parameters in determining when an alert needs to be sent and an error has occurred. But let's click here first. And this is a link that we have on our page here that goes out to the Department of Labor page, where you get to see a full description and all the frequently asked questions about the Service Contract Act. Here we can look and see that it says that the Service Contract Act does not apply to contracts for construction, alteration, or repair, including painting and decorating of public buildings or public works. If that sounds familiar, it's because I said that about a minute ago when describing the Davis-Bacon Act. So it doesn't outright say there that it does not apply when the Davis-Bacon Act is designated, but that is the case. Those two can never be selected together. That's also true with the Walsh-Healy Public Contract Act. The Service Contract Act cannot be designated with an award that's also designated for the Walsh-Healy Public Contracts Act. Service Contract Act also does not apply to contracts for the carriage of freight or personnel by vessel, airplane, bus, truck, express, pretty much anything that can fly or go over water or over land. This will not apply to that. It also does not apply to telephone services, cable companies, public utilities. So it really does narrow it down a little bit. So let's take a look at Check 96 on our page here. And let's just look right at let's look for one that's definitely wrong. So here, you can see the product service code is for the construction of structures and facilities. That sounds familiar because it's reminding us of the Davis-Bacon Act, which is probably what should have been designated here. If we drill out to FPDS and look at this award, it's for $173,000. The product service code is for construction of other non-building facilities and the next code is all other specialty trade contractors. The description says altogether fire and fence contract. It does seem to me in this situation that this would be for a construction project, and thus should not be designated under the Service Contract Act, but should be designated as falling under the Davis-Bacon Act. So this is a situation where an alert would be sent out. We also would send out an alert for the base and all options value. Like we say up here, an award is exempt from the Service Contract Act if the award's value is less than or equal to $2,500. So we would flag an award here where it's exactly $2,500. Let's move on now. Take a look at Check 97 for the Walsh-Shuli Public Contracts Act. It's kind of the same design here, where we're going to have a link out to DOL page and our list of the parameters that we're using for our logic for what we would flag an award for. But let's go ahead out again to the DOL page. So this is showing us a breakdown of who is covered by the Walsh-Shuli Public Contract Act and who wouldn't be. So here you're going to see that certain contracts are not covered by the PCA. These are purchases of materials, supplies, perishables, agricultural products, and original producers. It's mostly for products. What we're looking for in this situation is contracts that are in excess of $10,000 for the manufacturing, furnishing of materials, supplies, articles, or equipment. And the biggest part of that sentence to me is manufacturing or furnishing. So this is not for a finished product, but it's for a product that is going to be either created or manipulated somehow by an employee. And this mandate is there to regulate their wages, make sure that they're getting paid the appropriate amount. So let's go down here and see what we're flagging. Remember again, this award cannot be mixed with the Service Contract Act. So we're going to look here, let's just look at this first one from August. It was a purchase order, and right here our data check reason says to check the base and all options value and check the Service Contract Act designation. I can already see that this is below $10,000. Let's go even further and let's see what they're saying about the Service Contract Act in this situation. While we wait for FEDS, you can already tell from the NAICS code it's small arms ammunition manufacturing. Manufacturing is a word that I would like to hear in this situation because it does fall into that definition of the Public Contracts Act. So here we're seeing that they're buying ammunition. It is small arms ammunition manufacturing, and the description suggests that they're purchasing something that might already be a finished product, which seems likely because it is a purchase order. But if you look down here, it's designated for both the Service Contract Act and the Walsh-Shuli Act. I think there's a chance it's one of them. Most likely it's neither, but that would be for the CO or CS to confirm in this case. But I would think it's probably neither of those. So let's go ahead now. We're going to move on to Check 98, the Davis-Bacon Act. This one is really the simplest to know when you're going to be right on, because it really, if there's nothing to do with construction or the constructing of a new building, it's not really going to be accurate. You can see sometimes that there's things being done to a building, alteration or repair. That also is going to work. But let's go over that definition again. Davis-Bacon Act applies to contractors and subcontractors performing on federally funded or assisted contracts in excess of $2,000 for the construction, alteration, or repair, including painting and decorating of public buildings and public works. So we've selected a number of PSE codes that will work for this. And if they're not on our list that we've put together, we're saying that it is probably not accurate. So here, let's look at the first one again. because this one is telling us to check the PSC code and to check the Service Contract Act designation, remembering that they cannot both be on the same award. So we're going to drill through. Let's make sure. It's mod 0. Okay. All right, so let's scroll down and see what we have. The product service code is for transportation, travel, and relocation. That does not scream construction to me, so I'm going to go ahead and say that this is probably not part of the Davis-Bacon Act. The NAICS code is non-scheduled chartered passenger and air transportation. Again, it doesn't seem like that would be for construction. Right here, though, it does say that it was for the Davis-Bacon Act, and they checked yes on that. They also checked yes on the Service Contract Act. And again, I wouldn't be confident to say that either of those are correct, but there's more of a chance that it could be Service Contract Act. Although Service Contract Act does say that transportation of carriage or freight or personnel. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say here that none of these should be selected. Let's take a look at just one more. We'll scroll down right here. Office supplies and devices. This is telling us to check the PSE code and check the Service Contract Act designation. Okay, so if we look down, it is for office devices and accessories, and it's for soap dispensers. I don't think soap dispensers need much of a construction team to be put together, so I, again, in this situation, would doubt that the Davis-Bacon Act has been designated correctly. I also am not sure if the Service Contract Act would be necessary in this situation unless there was some sort of service that was being done and provided to put in these soap dispensers, but I'm not sure if that is what it would be. Although I could be wrong, but I don't think either would be selected. So these are our 3 checks. They're meant to help out and educate, to show that where the specifics lie for these 3 different mandates, because there are a lot of similarities and it can get confusing. I can tell you firsthand from investigating them early on. But I'm going to open it up now to questions if anyone has any.